Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Burton, and I am a part of the Cameron University's Reading and Literature Master's Program, as well as the Teaching and Learning Master's Program, which I graduate next month with my master's degree in. I've been teaching for 1 year, and I love it. I do. I'm currently working at the largest middle school in the state of Oklahoma, located in Yukon, Oklahoma, in Yukon Public Schools, called Yukon Middle School for seventh and eighth graders. Yukon is also home of Garth Brooks. He's a country singer, if you know who he is. But today we are going to be discussing the targeted need that I found from our reading comprehension assessment that I gave out to fellow teachers, and I found the need at the middle school level to be reading comprehension. And the targeted need specifically for my school is creating a curriculum that dives a bit more into that and gives a more guidance to our teachers. So I'm going to pull up this slideshow that I have. One moment. Right, so here's a little bit more. This slideshow is going to kind of guide me through as I discuss different strategies and go over my ideas for what could excel our reading program here at YMS. So beginning with, as I mentioned, the targeted need is reading comprehension and just creating a curriculum that's going to help aid our students in their reading comprehension skills and decrease the gap between our weaker students and our weaker readers versus our stronger readers. Because as we know, once they get to high school, the gap just continues to increase as they move forward in their educational career. So we at the middle school, we're not handling the same decoding and phonetic skills that the elementary teachers are facing and working with, like, to improve and to identify. At the middle school, last year, we had seven ELA teachers, and they were for we have 2,000 students here. So seven ELA teachers, students were split up. Well, each teacher had one academic achievement class, and that academic achievement class is designed to help students who aren't a part of special education, but they need the additional support based on their testing scores from the previous year, state testing scores from the previous year. So we take that data and then we include behavioral struggles. Typically, these students are falling in the category of they need help in mathematics as well as ELA. So we decide which area do they need more help in. Sometimes base it on test scores, sometimes you base it on availability in classrooms, but ultimately getting that success, the goal is for the student to be successful. This does take place of one of their electives. So students typically do not want to enroll in that class because it's not fun. They don't want to have to take technically two English or two math classes for the year. But last year, we had it to where we had seven ELA teachers. Each teacher had one academic achievement class. The issue we found with that is that we weren't seeing as much success as we hoped for because there wasn't a clear curriculum for that academic achievement class. There was not a pacing guide. There was nothing necessarily for the teachers to follow to ensure that each teacher was providing the same support to those students. Within their classroom. And these classes were typically smaller in size because you were going to do more of like a station work. So last year we we looked over our OSTP scores of the four levels with advanced, proficient, basic, and below basic. And according to US News, for YMS, we had 33% of our students test at the proficient level. And then we had, according to reportcard.com with our data, we had 50.8% of students score on level with their grade. So the other 50% of students, we needed to get them, we needed to find support for them. So the data that we found, it was we took that information and we placed them in academic achievement classes. So last year, like I mentioned, we eliminated every teacher from teaching academic achievement. So instead of having 7 teachers, we only have 6 this year. And then 1 teacher specifically teaches academic achievement. So that teacher this year, the issue that I found in my reading assessment was that there's not a clear curriculum for those 2 teachers, for the 1 teacher for 7th grade and the 1 teacher for 8th grade. There's not a clear pacing guide. There's not a curriculum for them to follow. The only thing that was enforced was that they had to include 1 day of iStations, which is created by Amplify, and they're a part of they work with our district, and we have to have all students have to complete 30 minutes of iStations each week to the data. It's supposed to improve their reading scores. The students that are in academic achievement are supposed to complete at least 1 hour. So 30 minutes in their academic achievement classroom, as well as 30 minutes with their advisory teacher, whoever that may be. So with all of that being said, as I mentioned, the 2 teachers, they did not have a clear curriculum. So we found we did not see the amount of growth that we hoped to see from first semester at the end of first semester, and then now going into second semester. Whereas in our math class, we did the same thing, same situation. They had their own academic achievement teachers too, and but they have a curriculum that they follow. And we've seen significant growth in those students that had that curriculum to follow, as well as it's easier for the teachers to, create lessons if they have something that they're supposed to be targeting. If they have an objective, if they have standards, if they have something that they need to meet, you find more success because you can hold people accountable. So that's why I suggested we start including something more with comprehension strategies. So developing reading strategies to aid comprehension at our middle school level. Excuse me. Today, we're going to be discussing how to identify and apply various comprehension strategies to understand various types of texts. And these are strategies that I'm sure you as English or reading literacy teachers probably already know that are going to support reading comprehension, but this is going to provide different strategies of how we can actually implement these into our classroom for success in the next year. So we're starting, I think if you start your week at the beginning of the week, if you start with like a word warm up of what you're going to be discussing, the vocabulary. The thing that I've noticed is since we've returned from COVID is that students, their vocabulary has diminished, as well as the spelling is not where it used to be. So we, I think if you start by showing them vocabulary, and at my school, we require teachers to have them have your unit vocabulary listed somewhere within your classroom. Unfortunately, this same requirement for our core teachers did not transfer over to our academic achievement classes. So next year, beginning with the implementation of that. So predicting, visualizing, connecting, summarizing, monitoring, and questioning are going to be each strategy that we're going to use. Let's start with what is comprehension? What is it that we're trying to improve? It refers to our ability to understand something. We often practice our comprehension skills through reading. Let's look into some strategies. So Our first strategy, visualizing. So visualizing entails creating mental images of what you read to help you better understand what you are reading. So, and then connecting those two words together. This means connecting what you are reading with your own knowledge or experiences. When you're reading something, if you're visualizing, if you're seeing it, then this will help you in finding that connection to recall it. So, for example, visualizing mental image of what you're reading connected to something. So have the students keep a composition notebook as a bell ringer and where they are required to illustrate one of their three weekly two-paragraph story excerpts. So you provide them with 3 to 4 days. They come into the classroom, their bell ringer is they're supposed to read 1 to 2 paragraphs, and then they have to draw or illustrate something that they have connected the story, the paragraphs that they've read to something tangible within their own personal or fictional life. Okay. And then I want you to have them make summarize that information. So taking main points from what they've read and use them to share a shorter version of the text. So making sure that they know that after they finish their two-paragraph reading, after the bell ringer's over and you bring the class together, they know that no matter what, every time they are given a story to read, you're going to ask the students, hey, like 3 questions over that story. And you want them to be able to summarize, answer whatever the questions are, you want them to be able to answer that. And you're going to use different question styles for that level of understanding. Um, Next strategy is predicting, making about making informed guesses about what might happen next in the text you are reading. So, for example, you have a student read the book title and then the introduction. Then you're going to have them predict what is to come. What's next? What do they think is going to come next? And this could take place in your reading in your reading summary. After the bell ringer, have them predict what's to come next in class. What's the next story going to be about? If they start seeing, if they start seeing a connection like between Monday's story, Tuesday's story, Wednesday's story, like are you going to have like a weekly overall topic, I guess? That's something that I would implement within my classroom. Next strategy is going to be questioning, like I mentioned, just making sure that they know that they're conditioned to answering those 3 questions um, after every story, every time, every bell ringer, or every exit question. Before the exit question, like you're always going to ask them a question. This will be beneficial. Next, we have another option would be to have them summarize. So on Fridays, you could require the students to summarize what the main point of the articles were about. Like I mentioned, for example, each article could have discussed the types of cows as the subject. So you're looking for them to recall and connect that information to summarize the point of the stories as a whole for the whole week. And if you introduce this at the beginning of the year, then they're gonna know, they're gonna meet your expectations. And so just continually reinforcing our expected behavior. So to recap, comprehension is what we are trying to work on improving here at the middle school level. So identifying and applying following strategies help us understand the various texts. So visualize, predict, connect, summarize, monitor, and question. Each of those are equally important. And we take that curriculum or we take those strategies and we apply it to the curriculum within our academic achievement classes for next year, which um, I've helped be a part of and create with our instructional coach here at my school. And so utilizing those, I think we're going to see significant growth in our overall test scores. So in my story, I referenced US News and reportcard.com. And then last, does anyone have any questions for me? Again, my name is Teresa Burton. And my overall goal is to have a curriculum for our academic achievement classes next year. I think that's where we're going to see this most improvement overall for our data scores. And I think that's where our targeted need is getting a curriculum. So getting comprehension strategies established, getting those expectations to the teachers to see improvement by this time next year. And overall, like these students will benefit from it when they go into their regular English classes because they're in this class for a reason. They need that support and we're there for them. All right, guys. Gotta go, but I hope y'all have a great rest of your day and thank you so much for listening.